a dynasty that ruled for centuries, their power spanning across Europe, holding secrets tighter than any crown. They were the Habsburgs, a family whose very existence felt wrapped in a shroud of ancient mystery. But what if the most powerful stories weren't just about their lavish palaces or their endless wars? What if they were about the strange, unexplained objects and practices they held dear? Prepare to step into a world where history whispers tales of forgotten magic, bizarre rituals, and items that defy simple understanding. These are the top 7 Habsburg relics that still keep historians and truth seekers awake at night, because their secrets are still very much alive. Number 7. Rudolf II's Imperial Alchemical Laboratory in Prague. Step into the late 16th century, and the air in Prague Castle during the reign of Emperor Rudolf II was different. It wasn't just the smell of incense from the imperial chapel, or the rich aroma of feasts. Sometimes a strange metallic tang, or an acrid burning odor, drifted from a secluded wing of the castle. This was the home of Rudolf II's passion, a pursuit that many considered on the edge of reason, even madness: alchemy. Rudolf II was unlike many of his Habsburg ancestors. He preferred the quiet, intense study of ancient texts and the company of scholars, artists, and crucially alchemists over the boisterous life of a monarch. He moved the Holy Roman Empire's court from Vienna to Prague in 1583, transforming the castle into a vibrant, if sometimes unsettling, hub of intellectual and esoteric exploration. Among the grand halls and beautiful gardens, hidden deep within the castle walls, was his legendary alchemical laboratory. Tales spread throughout Europe about this emperor who spent more time with furnaces and retorts than with diplomats. His fascination was not merely a hobby. Rudolf was genuinely searching for profound secrets, for the legendary philosopher's stone, the mythical substance believed to transmute base metals into gold, grant eternal youth, and unlock ultimate knowledge. He also sought the elixir of life, a potion to extend human existence indefinitely. To achieve these goals, he poured vast sums of money and imperial resources into his alchemical endeavors, attracting some of the most famous and infamous alchemists and mystics of his time. Picture the scene within the laboratory: dimly lit chambers, heavy with the scent of sulfur and various compounds. Furnaces glowed red-hot day and night, their flames casting dancing shadows on the stone walls. Glass flasks bubbled with mysterious concoctions. Heavy, leather-bound books, filled with cryptic symbols and ancient wisdom, lay open on wooden tables. The silence was broken only by the crackle of fire, the clinking of instruments, and the hushed whispers of the alchemists at work. Among the most famous figures who frequented Rudolf's court was Edward Kelly, an English alchemist and self-proclaimed spirit medium. Kelly arrived in Prague with John D. Queen Elizabeth, the first astrologer and advisor. Kelly claimed he could see angels and communicate with them, receiving ancient wisdom that held the keys to alchemy. Rudolf, ever curious and desperate for a breakthrough, gave Kelly a lavish apartment in the castle and funded his experiments. Stories from the period describe Kelly performing impressive transmutations, allegedly turning base metals into gold right before the emperor's eyes. Was it true alchemy, or was it a masterful trick? The accounts varied wildly, often depending on who was telling the story and what they stood to gain. Kelly lived a life of luxury for a time, then faced imprisonment when he failed to consistently deliver on his promises. His fate remained shrouded in mystery. Some say he attempted an escape and fell to his death, others that he died a prisoner. Another luminary drawn to Rudolf's court was Tycho Brahe, the renowned Danish astronomer. While not an alchemist himself, Brahe's rigorous scientific methods and his detailed astronomical observations were highly valued by Rudolf. Brahe, along with his assistant Johannes Kepler, worked diligently in Prague, charting the heavens. It was believed that the movements of the stars held clues to terrestrial events, including alchemical processes. The presence of such a respected scientist alongside the alchemists highlights Rudolf's unique approach, a blend of genuine scientific inquiry and esoteric pursuit. The relationship between these two seemingly disparate worlds, science and magic, was one of Rudolf's personal enigmas. The emperor himself was known to spend hours in his laboratory, observing the strange experiments. He was a keen collector of curious objects, ancient manuscripts, and unusual specimens, believing that by assembling enough diverse knowledge, the universe's hidden patterns would reveal themselves. He amassed an enormous collection, a Kunstkammer, or chamber of art and wonders filled with everything from exotic taxidermy to intricate automata and strange mechanical devices, many of which were believed to be connected to alchemical or astrological principles. It was rumored that some of these devices were unique creations from his own laboratory. What exactly was produced in Rudolf's laboratory? Beyond the elusive philosopher's stone, there were whispers of new pigments for paints, revolutionary dyes, and even improved methods for glassmaking. Some believe that real medical breakthroughs were achieved, forgotten remedies for terrible diseases or longevity, elixirs that never saw the light of day. Accounts from the time are often vague or written in coded language, common among alchemists who guarded their secrets fiercely. The legacy of Rudolf's alchemical pursuits continues to spark fascination. After his death and the tumultuous start of the 30 Years' War, Prague Castle faced sieges and plunder. Many of the laboratory's contents, the precious instruments, the alchemical notes, and any possible breakthroughs, vanished. Were they destroyed in the chaos of war, spirited away by ambitious scholars, or perhaps hidden in some deeper, more secret chamber within the castle, waiting to be rediscovered? No definitive answers have ever surfaced. The persistent question remains, what truly happened behind those laboratory walls? Did a Habsburg emperor, often dismissed as eccentric, uncover secrets that modern science has yet to grasp? Secrets now lost to time and the dust of ages. The stone walls of Prague Castle still hold their silence, guarding the untold story of the experiments that took place within. Number 6. The Vienna Dioscurides. Imagine a book, not just any book, but one that has traveled through time, survived empires, falling and rising countless wars, and the relentless march of centuries. The Vienna Dioscurides is such an object, a testament to enduring knowledge and the meticulous care taken by its guardians, particularly Habsburgs, who cherished it for centuries. It is an ancient Greek manuscript, a massive volume filled with hand-painted illustrations of plants, animals, and medicinal substances. Its existence and survival are a mystery in themselves. This incredible manuscript dates back to the early 6th century CE, a time when the Roman Empire in the West had fallen, and the Byzantine Empire was flourishing in the East. It is a copy of a much older work, De Materia Medica, written by Dioscurides, a Greek physician and botanist who lived in the 1st century CE. His original text was the authoritative pharmacological encyclopedia for more than 1,500 years. The Vienna Dioscurides is special because it is the oldest surviving illustrated botanical text, a bridge between the ancient world and the scientific awakening. Its journey to Vienna is a grand story in itself. For centuries it was held in Constantinople, the heart of the Byzantine Empire. It was likely commissioned for a Byzantine princess, Anicia Juliana, a member of the imperial family, whose portrait is included in the manuscript. It served as a precious and practical guide, a repository of medical knowledge. When Constantinople fell to the Ottoman Turks in 1453, the manuscript somehow survived the chaos and destruction. It passed through various hands, eventually ending up in the hands of a Jewish physician. In the late 16th century, it was acquired by Ogier Ghislain de Busbecq, an ambassador of Emperor Ferdinand I to the Ottoman court. de Busbeck, a keen scholar, recognized its immense value and arranged for its purchase. He brought it back to Vienna, where it entered the imperial library of the Habsburgs. For the Habsburgs, this manuscript was not a crown or a scepter, but it was just as much a symbol of their power and prestige, a different kind of relic. It represented their patronage of learning, their connection to ancient wisdom, and their role as guardians of European culture. Empress Maria Theresa, in particular, had a deep personal connection to the manuscript. She understood its historical and scientific importance. It was during her reign in the 18th century that the manuscript underwent a significant restoration. She commissioned Gerard van Swieten, her personal physician and an esteemed scholar, to oversee its care and study. Under her direction, scholars meticulously rebound it and ensured its continued preservation. The fact that an empress, constantly engaged in wars and ruling a vast empire, would dedicate resources to preserving an ancient botanical text speaks volumes about its perceived worth. The true mystery of the Vienna Dioscurides lies in its survival against all odds. How did such a fragile object made of parchment and pigments endure over 1,400 years, with so much of its original beauty intact? It survived the sacking of cities, the ravages of time, and the constant threat of neglect or destruction. Each page is a vibrant testimony to an art form that existed long before printing presses. The illustrations of plants are not merely decorative, they are incredibly accurate, allowing botanists even today to identify ancient species. Some of the plants depicted are now extinct or rare, making the manuscript an invaluable record of biodiversity. There are whispers about the forgotten knowledge contained within its pages. Did ancient physicians know remedies that have been lost to modern medicine? Are there secret properties of plants described that are yet to be rediscovered? The text describes hundreds of plants, minerals, and animal products detailing their medicinal uses. It also contains recipes for various concoctions and treatments. For centuries, scholars have pored over its pages, trying to decipher every symbol, every description, hoping to unlock forgotten cures or insights into the ancient world's understanding of medicine. The Vienna Dioscurides stands today as a silent giant in the Austrian National Library, a relic that speaks of an unbroken chain of knowledge and the incredible effort required to pass it down through generation. It is not an object of power in the traditional sense, but one of profound historical, scientific, and artistic significance. Its continued existence poses the question of how much more ancient wisdom might be lurking, hidden in plain sight, in other forgotten texts, waiting for someone to unlock its secrets. Its story is a testament to the Habsburgs' role as custodians of Europe's intellectual heritage, and the enduring power of a book to defy the passage of time. Number 5. The Habsburg Jaw. This is not a glittering crown or an ancient manuscript. It is a feature of flesh and bone, a physical characteristic that marked members of the Habsburg dynasty for centuries, becoming almost as recognizable. It was the Habsburg jaw, a distinctive, protruding lower jaw, often accompanied by an elongated face, a prominent nose, and a thick lower lip. Its very existence, its persistence through generations, and its eventual role in the dynasty's fate are deeply mysterious. The feature first became noticeable in the late medieval period, perhaps with Emperor Frederick III in the 15th century, but it became much more pronounced and widespread, with his son Emperor Maximilian I from there. It spread for the vast Habsburg family tree, appearing in various degrees and monarchs across Europe. You can see it in the portraits. The iconic Habsburg jawline became a defining characteristic of some of the most powerful rulers in European history. Take Charles V, the Holy Roman Emperor, who ruled an empire where the sun never set. His portraits clearly show the characteristic jaw, making it difficult for him to properly close his mouth. Despite this physical challenge, he was one of the most powerful and influential rulers of his time. Later, in the Spanish branch of the family, the trait became even more exaggerated. Look at portraits of Philip IV of Spain. With his almost comical elongation of the lower face, the mystery surrounding a Habsburg jaw is multi-layered. For centuries, it was simply accepted as a family trait, perhaps even seen as a mark of their unique lineage, a physical signature of their divine right to rule. But what was its true origin? Was it a random genetic mutation that became fixed due to the dynasty's marriage patterns? The Habsburgs were famous or infamous for their practice of endogamy, marrying within their own family, often first cousins or nieces. This was done to consolidate power, maintain alliances, and keep wealth within the family. While politically shrewd, it had significant biological consequences. Many modern geneticists and medical historians point to inbreeding as the most likely explanation for the persistence and exaggeration of the Habsburg jaw, a condition known as mandibular prognathism. The repeated mating between close relatives increased the likelihood of recessive genes for certain traits becoming dominant, leading to the physical expression of this particular facial structure. But was it just genetics? For those living in the era, was it a sign of unique bloodline, or perhaps even a subtle curse that ran through their veins? The impact of the Habsburg jaw on the individuals who bore it was significant, while some managed well. For others, it caused considerable discomfort and health issues. People with severe prognathism can have difficulty chewing food properly, leading to digestive problems. They might struggle with speech, their words slurring due to the misalignment of their jaws and teeth. Breathing could also be challenging, especially during sleep. Imagine being one of the most powerful people in the world, yet struggling with basic functions, like speaking clearly or eating a meal without effort. Historical accounts sometimes mention the difficulties experienced by these monarchs, the quiet struggle behind the imperial facade. The ultimate and most tragic manifestation of the Habsburg jaw came with Charles II of Spain. The last of the Spanish Habsburg line, his portraits reveal an extreme case of the feature. Born in 1661, Charles II was weak and sickly from birth. He had severe physical deformities, including a massively protruding jaw that made it almost impossible for him to chew or speak clearly. He was also intellectually delayed and suffered from numerous illnesses throughout his short life. He was often described as being barely able to function, a stark contrast to the strong, formidable monarchs who preceded him. The greatest mystery connected to Charles II and his jaw was his inability to produce an heir. Despite 2 marriages, he remained childless. This had catastrophic consequences for European politics. When he died in 1700, the Spanish Habsburg line ended, plunging Europe into the devastating War of the Spanish Succession. As various European powers vied for control of the vast Spanish Empire, was the physical debilitation caused by the extreme Habsburg jaw a direct cause of his infertility and the end of his line? Or was it merely one visible symptom of a broader genetic fragility caused by generations of intermarriage? Historians and scientists continue to debate this, but the visual evidence of the jaw remains a powerful silent witness to the dynasty's biological fate. The Habsburg jaw stands as a unique relic because it is not an object that can be touched or stored in a museum vault. It is a biological legacy, a visible marker etched into the very faces of the family. It is a mysterious reminder of how human choices, even those made centuries ago for political gain, can have profound and lasting effects on generations, blurring the lines between physical appearance, perceived destiny, and the dramatic course of history. Number 4. The empty tomb of Maximilian I. Deep within the Hofkirche, the court church in Innsbruck, Austria, stands one of the most impressive and mysterious monuments in Europe. It is the tomb of Emperor Maximilian I, often called the Last Knight. This isn't just a simple resting place. It is a sprawling, elaborate sarcophagus, surrounded by 28 larger-than-life bronze statues of his ancestors and heroes collectively known as the Schwarzmander, or Black Men. The sheer scale and artistic mastery are breathtaking. But here's the profound mystery. Maximilian I's body is not inside. The sarcophagus is empty. Maximilian I, who lived from 1459 to 1519, was a fascinating and complex figure. He was an ambitious and visionary ruler who greatly expanded Habsburg power through shrewd diplomacy, strategic marriages, and military campaigns. He saw himself as the epitome of chivalry, hence the nickname the Last Knight. He was also a passionate patron of the arts and sciences, and he harbored grand plans for his legacy, including his final resting place. He planned his own tomb years before his death, envisioning a magnificent monument that would solidify his place in history and serve as a grand statement of Habsburg power and continuity. He commissioned the design, the sarcophagus, and many of the bronze statues himself. The artistic undertaking was immense, involving leading sculptors and craftsmen of the time. The figures of the black men are particularly striking, representing figures from history and legend, like King Arthur, Godfrey of Bouillon, and members of his own family, all standing sentinel of Maximilian's death. He died in Wels, Austria, far from Innsbruck. Despite all the elaborate preparations for his grand tomb, his final wish reportedly expressed on his deathbed was a far more humble burial. He asked to be buried simply beneath the altar of the chapel of St. George in the castle church of Wiener Neustadt, alongside his first wife, Mary of Burgundy. His instructions were followed, and his body was indeed interred there. So why did the magnificent tomb in Innsbruck remain empty? The monument was already well underway, with many of the statues completed or in progress. His grandson, Emperor Ferdinand I, decided to continue the project, perhaps out of respect for Maximilian's grand vision, or to fulfill the original ambition of establishing a powerful Habsburg imperial monument. The construction continued for decades after Maximilian's death, finally being largely completed by the late 16th century. The empty tomb poses several intriguing questions. Was Maximilian's deathbed wish a sudden change of heart, a moment of profound humility from a man who had always sought glory? Or was it a practical decision made when he knew he might not live long enough to be transported to the distant, incomplete tomb in Innsbruck? Some speculate that the cost of moving his body, or perhaps the sheer scale of the unfinished project, simply made a simpler burial more feasible. Another perspective suggests that the empty tomb, rather than being a failure, became an even more powerful symbol. It stands as a monument, not just to a body, but to an ideal, a vision, an unfulfilled grand design. It is a mausoleum for his ambition, a place where his spirit rather than his physical remains might be imagined to rest. The impressive collection of bronze figures around it, representing both historical and mythical heroes, further reinforces this idea of a monument to a legendary figure, rather than just a burial site. The black men gaze out, silent and imposing, perhaps waiting for a body that never arrived, or perhaps guarding a secret that has been lost to time. The sheer labor and expense poured into a tomb that would never house its intended occupant is remarkable. It highlights the Habsburg obsession with legacy, with ensuring their place in history through grand artistic and architectural statements. The tomb of Maximilian I, though empty, served as a powerful visual representation of the Habsburg claim to imperial authority and their lineage. It drew pilgrims and visitors, impressing upon them the wealth and prestige of the dynasty. Even today, when you visit the Hofkirche, the sight of that immense, ornate yet vacant sarcophagus, surrounded by its silent bronze guardians, evokes a powerful sense of mystery. It is a relic not of a body, but of a decision, a shift in intent, and a monumental endeavor that defied the conventional purpose of a tomb. It asks us to ponder the nature of legacy itself. Is it about where one's body lies, or about the grand visions one leaves behind, even if they are never fully realized? The empty tomb of Maximilian I remains a testament to a grand plan, a whispered story of imperial ambition, and a poignant reminder that even the most powerful rulers might choose simplicity. Number 3. The separated hearts of the Habsburgs. Imagine a family so dedicated to tradition, so entwined with their faith and their lineage, that they chose to divide their very essence in death. This is one of the most unique and mysterious practices of the Habsburg dynasty. The ritualistic separation and burial of their bodies, hearts, and intestines in 3 different holy sites in Vienna. It's a practice that began in the 17th century and continued for over 200 years, leaving behind a trail of silent silver urns and macabre questions. The primary resting place for the Habsburg emperors and empresses, along with many other family members, was the imperial crypt beneath the Capuchin church. Here, their embalmed bodies were interred in elaborate, often incredibly ornate, metal sarcophagi. But this was not the only destination for their remains. A separate, solemn journey awaited their hearts. These vital organs were carefully removed during the embalming process and placed in precious silver or gilded copper urns. These urns were then taken to the Augustinerkirche, the Augustinian church, where they were interred in the Herzgruf, or heart crypt, a small, unassuming chamber located behind the Loreto chapel. Imagine the hushed ceremonies, the solemn processions carrying these sacred vessels through the streets of Vienna, each containing the very core of a deceased monarch. And the separation didn't stop there. The intestines, along with other internal organs, were also removed and placed in separate containers, often ceramic or copper, and buried in the ducal crypt beneath St. Stephen's Cathedral. This 3-part burial ritual meant that a single Habsburg monarch's remains were distributed across 3 different sacred locations in their imperial capital. The mystery begins with the why. Why did this practice originate, and what was its profound meaning? The tradition began in 1618 with Empress Anna, the wife of Emperor Matthias. She was the first to have her heart interred separately in the Augustinian church. Her husband followed the practice, and it quickly became a deeply entrenched custom for subsequent Habsburg rulers, lasting until the mid-19th century. There are no definitive, explicit historical records that perfectly explain the exact theological or symbolic reasoning behind this triple burial. However, historians and scholars have offered various interpretations. One theory suggests it was a profound act of devotion, ensuring that different parts of the body were laid to rest in places with specific spiritual significance. The Augustinerkirche, for instance, was the Habsburg parish church where many imperial weddings took place, symbolizing love and union. St. Stephen's Cathedral was the traditional seat of Viennese religious authority, representing the earthly and spiritual power of the monarchy. The Capuchin crypt was established specifically as the imperial burial ground, emphasizing dynastic continuity. Another perspective considers it a practical measure relating to the embalming process itself, which was necessary for transporting bodies or for their long-term preservation. Removing the internal organs was a standard part of this process. The decision to bury them separately rather than with the main body elevated the practice to a ritualistic and symbolic level. Perhaps it was believed that the heart, as the seat of the soul, and emotions deserved a special, more sacred resting place. Distinct from the physical vessel of the body, the emotional weight of this practice is palpable when visiting these sites today. In the Augustinerkirche, you can stand before rows of simple, unadorned silver urns, each representing the heart of an emperor, empress, or archduke. Empress Maria Theresa, one of the most powerful and beloved Habsburg rulers, has her heart placed in an urn next to that of her beloved husband. Emperor Francis I Stephen, a poignant testament to death. The heart of Emperor Franz Joseph I, who ruled for 68 years, is also here. The separated hearts are silent witnesses to a time when spiritual beliefs intertwine deeply with matters of state and family. It reflects a profound understanding of life and death, and perhaps a desire for a particular kind of spiritual scattering, a divine distribution of their imperial essence. Was it an act of profound piety, a superstitious attempt to secure salvation, or a unique expression of their identity as rulers of the Holy Roman Empire? The mystery lies in the unanswered why, leaving us to contemplate the deep personal and religious convictions that drove such a remarkable and endearing practice for one of Europe's most powerful dynasties. Number 2. The Holy Lance. Imagine an object so powerful that legends claim it could make its possessor invincible, capable of conquering all enemies. This is the story of the Holy Lance, also known as the Spear of Destiny. For centuries, it was believed to be the spear that pierced the side of Jesus Christ during his crucifixion. This ancient, seemingly simple piece of iron became one of the most cherished and mysterious relics of the Holy Roman Empire, eventually ending up in the hands of the Habsburgs, who guarded it fiercely. The lance's journey through history is a tapestry woven with fact, legend, and profound belief. Its story begins in biblical times. After the crucifixion, various traditions claim the spear was handed down through generations, making its way into the hands of Roman emperors like Constantine the Great, who supposedly used its power to achieve victory in battle. Legends abound, attributing an unbroken string of military triumphs and political successes to anyone who wielded it. By the 10th century, the Holy Lance had become a key part of the imperial regalia of the Holy Roman Emperors. It was carried into battle by figures like Otto the Great, who united much of Germany and established the foundations of the Holy Roman Empire. Otto firmly believed that the lance granted him divine favor and invincible power on the battlefield. Chroniclers of the time described his victories as direct proof of the lance's supernatural abilities. The spear was not just a symbol of authority. It was seen as an active participant in history, channeling divine will. When the Habsburgs ascended to the imperial throne of the Holy Roman Empire, the Holy Lance, along with the imperial crown and other regalia, became their sacred possessions. They guarded it meticulously, understanding its immense symbolic and spiritual power. For centuries, it resided in the imperial treasury in Vienna, a silent testament to their imperial legitimacy and their connection to a lineage stretching back to the earliest Christian emperors. The physical object itself is intriguing. It consists of a roughly forged iron spearhead, approximately 50 centimeters long. A key feature is a visible pin or nail embedded within it, which was long claimed to be one of the nails from the true cross. This addition further amplified its sacred status. However, the authenticity of the lance has been debated for centuries. Some scholars point to its crude construction and various modifications over time, suggesting it is a medieval becket rather than a direct relic from the 1st century. Yet for believers, and for the emperors who held it, its authenticity was beyond question. Its power was real. The mystery of the Holy Lance deepened significantly in the 20th century, especially with the rise of Adolf Hitler. Hitler, obsessed with occultism and ancient power, developed a profound fascination with the Holy Lance. He believed that whoever possessed it held the destiny of the world in their hands. When Germany annexed Austria in 1938, one of Hitler's first commands was to seize the imperial regalia, including the Holy Lance, and transport them to Nuremberg. He saw its acquisition as a mystical confirmation of his own power and the destiny of the Third Reich. For the duration of World War II, the lance was hidden away in a secret bunker. Hitler himself was rumored to visit it, drawing strength and inspiration from its legendary power. It became a symbol of his megalomania and his twisted belief in an ancient mystical force guiding his actions. The fact that such a powerful modern dictator placed so much faith in an ancient relic speaks volumes about the enduring allure of its mystery. As the war drew to a close and Allied forces closed in, the fate of the lance hung in the balance. It was eventually discovered by American forces in 1945, along with the rest of the regalia, hidden in an underground vault. After the war, it was returned to Austria, and now rests in the imperial treasury in the Hofburg Palace in Vienna. Once again, a silent, guarded relic. Standing before the Holy Lance today, it is hard not to feel the weight of its history. It is a simple, archaic weapon, yet it has been at the center of empires, wars, and profound human belief for over a millennium. Was it truly the spear that pierced Christ's side? Did it grant invincibility to its wielders? Or was its power purely psychological? A self-fulfilling prophecy born of unwavering faith. The Holy Lance remains one of the world's most mysterious objects, a testament to the enduring human desire for a tangible connection to the divine, and a weapon imbued with an inexplicable force that continues to defy rational explanation. Number 1. The Imperial Crown of the Holy Roman Empire. Among all the dazzling treasures held by the Habsburgs, perhaps none holds as much weight, history, and mystery as the Imperial Crown of the Holy Roman Empire. It is not merely a piece of exquisite jewelry. It is a 1,000-year-old silent witness to the rise and fall of emperors, the forging of nations, and the deeply held beliefs about divine right and earthly power. For centuries it was the symbol of an empire that stretched across Central Europe, and for hundreds of years it belonged to the Habsburgs, their ultimate badge of authority. The crown itself is a marvel of medieval craftsmanship. Unlike modern circular crowns, it is octagonal, formed from 8-hinged gold plates, each richly adorned with precious gemstones and pearls. 2 arches rise over the plates, meeting at a cross that sits atop the crown. On the front plate, a depiction of Christ in majesty sits above 3 panels showing Old Testament kings. The crown's very design is symbolic, imbued with theological and political meaning that has been pondered by scholars for centuries. The mystery begins with its exact origin. While it's generally believed to date back to the late 10th or early 11th century, possibly for Emperor Otto I or Conrad II, the precise details of its creation are lost to time. Who were the master craftsmen? What were the exact intentions behind each specific gem placement or biblical scene? Some theories suggest that its octagonal shape and the arrangement of its gems might correspond to celestial patterns, hinting at an astrological or cosmic significance now forgotten. Was it designed to be a miniature representation of the celestial city, a portable gateway to the heavens for the emperor who wore it? For nearly a millennium, this crown was the sacred centerpiece of the Holy Roman Empire. It was the coronation crown for nearly every Holy Roman emperor, from the 11th century until the empire's dissolution in 1806, to where the crown was to receive an almost mystical anointing, a direct link to Charlemagne, to the Caesars of ancient Rome, and, most importantly, to God's chosen will. The very act of placing it upon an emperor's head was believed to confer divine legitimacy, turning a mere mortal into a sacred ruler. Stories abounded about the special aura it possessed, the sense of immense power that emanated from it, felt by those who were in its presence. The crown's journey through history is a saga of power and peril. It was not always kept in one fixed location. As the seat of the Holy Roman Empire shifted and as wars raged across Europe, the crown was frequently moved, hidden, and protected. It was sometimes taken to Rome for coronations, then brought back to imperial strongholds like Nuremberg, where it was traditionally kept for centuries. Each journey was fraught with risk, its safe passage a matter of paramount imperial importance. The history of its hiding places, its guardians, and the narrow escapes it made from plunder are whispered tales of desperate loyalty and cunning deception. For the Habsburgs, who were elected Holy Roman Emperors almost continuously from the 15th century until the empire's end, the crown was the ultimate symbol of their vast dominion. It underpinned their claims to universal authority and their role as defenders of Christendom. Emperor Francis II, the last Holy Roman Emperor, officially dissolved the empire in 1806, feeling the pressure from Napoleon Bonaparte. He laid aside the imperial crown of the Holy Roman Empire, creating a new personal imperial crown of Austria. This act marked the end of a 1,000-year-old tradition and the crown's direct role in the coronation of emperors. Today, the imperial crown of the Holy Roman Empire rests in the imperial treasury at the Hofburg Palace in Vienna, a permanent display for millions of visitors. It is an incredibly heavy object, both in its physical weight and the weight of history it carries. Standing before it, you can almost hear the echoes of coronations, the solemn oaths, the shouts of acclamation. The ultimate mystery of the imperial crown was its power purely psychological, a potent symbol that united a disparate collection of states under one ruler, or did it truly possess an inherent, almost magical quality that influenced the destiny of those who wore it and the empire it represented? Why did so many believe that its possession granted invincibility and divine favor? The crown stands silently, its jewels shimmering, offering no answers to these profound questions, only a profound sense of awe and the lingering whisper of 1,000 years of imperial secrets.